6 months ago in April, I was the heaviest that I have ever been since I first lost 40 pounds on a plant-based diet. 6 months ago, I finished an intentional bulk and I was around 66 kilos or like about 146 pounds. And today, I'm the leanest that I have been while being the strongest in probably forever. Like I'm like the lowest body fat percentage, feel better, eat better, and my habits are so dialed in, and everything has kind of changed in the past 3 months. So if you're on a weight loss journey and you're curious about kind of how I've been experimenting, then keep watching, because I'm going to share with you the exact formula that has been working for me and I think can work for really pretty much everyone. I'm also going to share exactly how much weight I actually lost over this time, so if you're curious, then stick around for that too. So in April 2024, I finished my intentional bulk because I maintained my weight loss for like quite a long time now, and I wanted to see what would happen if I really like upped my calories, I really upped like my workouts in the gym, and see if I could actually build a bit of muscle, because it's much harder to build muscle while you are maintaining your weight. So I knew I was going to go into another intentional weight loss phase to kind of reveal some of the muscle that I'd built. My pants were not fitting very well, so I started doing that. So April, I went from bulking to cutting, which is just a fancy way of saying I was back in a weight loss zone. And I actually hired a coach, a vegan fitness coach. I was counting macros with him for a good 3 months because I love coaching and I'm obsessed with coaching. I have a coaching program. I think coaching is super amazing. I always get coaching in every area of my life, and I just want to see more about like what I can learn about the coaching space and if it was going to help me. It super helped me on the fitness side of things. I got way stronger, but I don't like counting macros. I don't like the process of like weighing and measuring food. It's not fun to me. It doesn't feel sustainable to me. And so I was very excited to stop doing that. And I didn't even do it like super well, if I'm honest. But like I lost maybe like 4-ish pounds over that time. Quite a bit of that actually was muscle as well. Like at least a pound, possibly even 2 of that was muscle loss, which is really normal, even though I was working super hard. And then when I finished that 3-month stint, I was like, I don't want to ever do this again. This is really difficult. But how do I get so dialed in that I can continue to lose, but it feels doable? What I decided was, well, what if I almost like ate like I was counting macros? Or what if I almost ate like I was a bodybuilder, but I didn't have to count anything? And I always look at like fitness accounts and I see how people eat, and I see that they make it super simple, where they've got some meat and some rice and some veggies or something of that nature. And I know that I can do something similar in a vegan way, where I can do tofu, I can do vegetables, and I can do potato. So basically what I decided to do was set a very strict schedule for myself. I was curious, what would happen if I dialed in my habits where I didn't even have to think about what I ate every single day, because I was also entering a really busy period. And I wanted to see, like, if I just focused on the habits, if I just focused on the inputs and I didn't even worry about what happened next, I didn't even try to lose weight, my habits have to be like tight, what would happen? This is where things get super interesting. I had a couple of goals going into this, and the first one was that I wanted to appreciate really simple food. And this is very similar to the potato reset that I did at the very beginning of my weight loss, where the goal is to essentially reset your taste buds, where you appreciate eating things like just potatoes, having things super plain, because I thought if I can do that on a day-to-day basis, it's going to be much easier to stay consistent with my diet. I'm not going to be tempted by treats or the weekends all the time. I also wanted to remove decision fatigue. I didn't want to be thinking about what I was going to eat on a daily basis, because I knew, being super busy, that was going to mean that I would revert to the easiest thing, which would be probably something processed, or I would just put off eating until I was so hungry that I would make a poor decision. I also wanted to think about, well, how can I make this as easy as possible to prep? I didn't want to spend a ton of time on a Sunday meal prepping. I wanted to do something where it really only took me like 10 minutes throughout the course of my week, and it was something that actually even other people could prep for me. Like my husband could make the tofu, or I could just shove some things in an air fryer or in an oven at night when I was getting ready for other stuff. So I wanted the prep to feel like it could take 5 minutes. The other goal that I had was to not have to build a bowl every single day. I just wanted to be able to grab something from a container and then put it in the microwave or even eat it cold, because I knew that if I was able to do that, I could be more consistent on my weekends and I would be able to eat at more consistent times. find it easier to stop my work day because I wasn't having to spend a lot of time like prepping something or cutting up on a day-to-day basis. So you can see with all those constraints, you have to get very creative about what that actually looks like. And I knew that it was going to be me eating pretty much the same thing every single day. The first thing was that I wanted to eat half of vegetables, preferably broccoli because it's just easy and I like it, and about half a pound of non-starchy vegetables at both my lunch and my dinner. So that was one of the first non-negotiables for me. So that was super, super important. The second thing was that I wanted to have my lunch be half those non-starchy vegetables, but then a little bit of potato and then also about half a block of tofu. And my goal was to have that lunch be between 550 calories, that I wouldn't have to think about the components to it because I would cook up the same thing all the time and I would just have that portioned out ready for me to go, like very like loosely just put together with what I know that helps me to feel full and satisfied. And I didn't want to have to think about it. I didn't want to have to plan what I was going to have. So I just decided on broccoli, potato or sweet potato, depending on what I had, and then tofu. And I would use my nutritional yeast tofu recipe, which is really easy. And then I thought, well, I can just kind of switch it up by having a different sauce, having a different hummus, sometimes using avocado. In terms of the condiments, I was going to switch up the condiments rather than the veggies or potatoes. But then I also thought, well, sometimes it's going to be sweet potato, sometimes it's going to be potato, sometimes it's going to be a combination. Maybe sometimes I'll add like a little bit of edamame too. I chose this lunch specifically because I knew it was going to keep me full. I'm always wanting to have quite a bit of bulk. So that's where I have those half a pound of non-starchy veg in terms of the broccoli. So that works out to be about one broccoli. And then I'm always going to have at least like 1-2 potatoes in there because that's going to work out to me feeling more satisfied because potatoes are the highest satiety index. So I was very intentional about deciding that the majority of my meals were going to be potato based because I get fuller quicker, I stay fuller longer, and I'm less likely to overeat on calories because they're just lower in calories than other starches like rices or grains. And I personally don't find rices or grains all that filling. I just want to eat more of them as well. I decided to have oatmeal consistently for breakfast because it's another one that makes me super full. I went for about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of oatmeal, and I wanted to have quick cook oats because I knew that that was going to be easier for me to prepare than something that I had to spend a ton of time on the stove. So the quick cook oats that I use, they're also called Scotch oats. They're a bit more processed and they really only need about a minute in the microwave. So that was another factor in my decision because I wanted things to be super quick. And then I also use a protein powder now, which gives my oats a bit of sweetness. So I just mix the protein powder and I use Macro Mike. I'm not sponsored by them. Would I be? Probably, because I absolutely love this brand and I fully endorse it. So if you want to know more about that, then you can just search Google Macro Mike. It's an Australian company and all their protein powders are just really, really delicious. So that was going to add a bit of sweetness, so I wasn't going to have to add anything like banana or maple syrup. And I was going to have some kind of frozen fruit like raspberries with that because they are low in calories. So any kind of low calorie fruit, I was like, I can mix and match it. I could have raspberries, I could have blueberries, I could have apples in there sometimes. That's going to be like my half veggie portion, but it's just going to be low calorie fruit because it works out to about 200, maybe like 150 calories per pound if you have something like raspberries, which is actually really similar to something like broccoli. So I'm achieving the same result in that my meals get more bulked, but I'm also enjoying the fruit because it's sweet and delicious. And then I knew that I wanted to have flax every day, so I was going to put about 2 tablespoons of flax, some soy milk for some legumes in there, also because soy is super good for you. And then I would have cinnamon. And so I was like, this is going to be my breakfast and I'm just going to have this every single day. And I also know that this meal works out to about 550, sometimes 600 calories, depending on how much fruit or soy milk I put in. And that's also a perfect range for weight loss. And I also knew this is going to keep me full until lunch, which is another really important factor. My other decision-making process was that I wasn't going to make myself, or I wasn't going to have a system where I had to have that exact breakfast on a Saturday, because we do have a routine of going to the markets, and quite often we will buy like sourdough and we'll have some like avocado and some bruschetta if like it's summer. And so I was like okay with having a bit of a different breakfast, but then Sundays I would still be having the same thing consistently. And even a lot of the Saturdays I was like, you know what, I still want to have like a mostly consistent breakfast. So I'd either eat like half my oats and then like a little bit of toast or a little bit of bread, Or I would have like some weeks where I would, some weeks where I wouldn't. So I made the intentionality that every day of the week it was oats. Like commitment made, set in stone, no decision fatigue, no ifs or buts. But then I could be a little bit more lax on a Saturday. Same with my lunches for the week. It was just a consistent decision where I just made the decision every single lunch throughout the week is going to be this meal. Even if there is leftovers, I'm not going to have the leftovers. I'm going to have this meal that I'm going to consistently get into the routine of prepping and having ready for me. The next guideline I set was that I wasn't going to like meal prep my dinners, but I did want to have a whole foods dinner every single night, and I kind of set what that would look like. So I was going to go out one night a week on a Monday, and my kids would get sushi, and then I would get like a rice bowl with like some veggies in there, and then I would also bring tofu, and I would bring some like extra broccoli because I've already got that ready. Go to my parents one night. Like we really try to outsource food as much as we possibly can. Like I cook pasta one night. I think we have dal like twice because like my mum will make me some dal, and I always have my veggies with it. I always just eat until I'm full. My day-to-day, it feels like my food is just fuel. It's pretty darn boring, but because it's now become so normal, because it's been the last 6 months, like I don't really feel like I need anything else. It wasn't like super set in stone, but what I knew I was going to do was broccoli or some kind of veggie. It was going to be low in calories, and that I wasn't going to have like tons of cashew. I never cook with oil. I was going to keep everything that I was cooking under 600 calories per pound, which is potatoes, rice, beans, vegetables, and then like condiment wise, I wasn't going to have things like mayonnaise. I was not going to have oil. I was not going to have breads or anything like that, or like processed vegan meats, unless they were pretty low calorie, and like I hid them amongst a whole lot of other stuff. I also decided that I was going to stop snacking. And I don't really snack a lot anyway, but I do find that my hunger will kind of peak at 3 p.m. 2 p.m, this is really, really normal. So I knew that if that was the case, I was going to make myself a small smoothie, or I was going to have fruit, or I was going to have like potato or vegetables. So I'd already made those decisions about what was going to happen in those instances. I also decided that I was going to stop having like processed desserts. So normally I would be having like a bit of a cookie, or I would have something small, but it would be kind of processed. So what I decided was I want to have something small, but it has to be unprocessed or not as processed. So I'm going to have a small bliss ball, or I'm going to have, if I do something this is more processed, but I'm going to have like a small hot chocolate, or I'm going to have a protein bar. So I had made the decision that during the week I just wasn't going to be eating. Even if there was like nice like ice cream or something else that my husband was eating, or there was ice blocks or something that calorie wise I'm like, yeah, like it's okay, I can kind of fit it in. I just thought about it in terms of habits, where because I'm not like counting calories or anything like that. I just thought, well, how can I make my habits super solid? I don't want to be in a habit of eating any kind of processed foods for dessert, so I'm going to stop doing that. And I did. I also decided that I was going to start going to the gym early. And I don't know when I decided this. This was like 3 months ago. This is kind of what's changed since then. This is all like kind of 3 months ago, because I work with some amazing human beings who and this is going to come into it a little bit as well, is really the people that you spend time with and compare yourselves to. So 2 people I work with, Janelle and Keisha. Keisha is my general manager, and Janelle is the head coach right now in Lean with Plants. And so both of these people have very early morning gym routines. And I always looked at people who got up at 5 a.m. and I thought, that's not real. Like no way is that real. No way are people are doing that consistently. That sounds horrible. Let me just work out later on in the day. But entering this busy period, I realized I wasn't going to be able to do that, especially with needing to do more rehab for my torn ACL and the surgery that I had, which is coming up. It actually is coming up that time. It's about 2 months now since I've had ACL reconstruction. And so I decided that I was going to start getting up early. And then this has also been like a game changer for me, because getting up at 5 or 5:30 and then hitting the gym and being home by 7 means that my day becomes just much more structured and organized. And building that discipline has helped me to be more disciplined in other areas. I'll get into more of kind of like what's happened, but this was kind of some like thought process around what I decided I wanted to do. I decided that I was going to go to the gym like 5 days a week. after my ACL, it was like, I need to go to the gym pretty much every single day that my rehab is set. That is like an everyday, sometimes twice a day routine. So that was like non-negotiable. I'm just going to be there and I'm going to be doing my rehab. And every second day, like if I have a bit of time, then I'll do like a little bit of upper body. My rehab since changed where now I can do lower body and then upper body, lower body, upper body, and I go 5 times a week, sometimes 6. I also knew that I didn't want to stop having coffee. I have my coffee every single day. And I have it milky. I'm like not skimping on the milk. I put chocolate powder on top and I freaking love it. So that wasn't going to change, and I still do this every single day. The other thing that I did change though was that I started to hop on the treadmill before my gym session, because I always struggled to get my steps in, and putting that commitment where I had to go 15 minutes before I started my workout meant that I actually started to increase my steps. So I started to see little bits of progress over the past 3 months. But then what happened, and what's been super interesting, is over the past month, things have ramped up even more. Now, and I'll just like say it right here, right now, I've actually lost over 9 pounds. I'm sitting at about 137 pounds now, so close to 10 pounds, like 62 kilos. And there has been even more dialing in over the past 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago, I was in America, and again, like spending time with people who are just like leveling up in their lives, it really encouraged me and proved to me how important it is to be very, very disciplined in what I'm doing, because that's going to allow me to achieve more in my personal life, in my professional life, and it's going to unlock me just being able to be with the kind of people and learn from the kind of people that I want to learn with. There's a big difference in terms of discipline typically between someone who gets up consistently at 5 a.m., goes to bed at 9 p.m., journals every single day, is super dialed in with their habits and what they're actually able to achieve, because they've already built a discipline of being able to control their impulses and trust in themselves that if they say they're going to do something that's difficult, like getting up at 5 is difficult, but they actually follow through and do that. So I was very inspired by Janelle, by Keisha, and by all these other people that I was meeting. Also, when I was in LA, I met Amy, who is, maybe you know her as Broccoli Mum. She makes a lot of content. She has lost like 60 pounds. No, it's like 60 pounds. It actually is more than that now. So she's lost a lot of weight eating the same way that I did. And like we just like really connected on that LA trip, because I ran a retreat. We flew her out for the retreat like as like a special guest. And over the past like couple of weeks, we've been like talking more. We've been like chatting more. So now I have almost like these 3 people, but it's actually so much more than that, of these other people that I've met who they get up early. They're super disciplined. They say no to things, and it's just inspired and challenged me to be a whole lot more consistent, because I'm thinking about them and I'm thinking like, I want to level up as well. So what's happened is I've basically stopped having desserts at all. I now have a cup of tea. I'm very excited about what I'm doing. So I'm finding that I'm less hungry, and because my meals are super simple, I don't feel like I need to overeat on them. And there's a lot of the times where I'm like not even finishing my meals, because what I'm doing in my work feels very, very exciting. I've also, because I've built this 5 a.m. gym routine, now getting up earlier has unlocked, and also because it's summer, it's getting into summer here, it's unlocked me being able to walk more and do more activities with my kids, because now we go for a walk at like 7 when I get home from the gym. Like we go for a walk around the block, which is amazing. I also got a bike because I need to rehab my knee, and because I'm not skating, because I'm not running, I really miss that kind of like adrenaline rush. And so borrowing my mom's bike, having this idea that like I need to rehab my knee, has meant that I'm kind of biking every day. And I normally bike like 5 to 10 kilometers. So what's that, like maybe 9 to like 16 kilometers every day. And like I bike typically into town, or I bike to the gym, and then it's all downhill, and then I kind of bike all the way back. The other thing that changed was when I was in America, I bought all these Aloha bars, because what I've seen is that when I have a dessert, if I am going to have dessert, when I have something that is single serve, that takes me a while to eat, so kind of chewy, I know it sounds really strange, but something that I can like grab and go and take with me if I'm with friends, or if I'm going out and there's going to be desserts around, if I'm going out to a restaurant and like the other people are going to, not a restaurant, but like a cafe, someone else is going to get a croissant. If I have like my coffee or a drink or a cup of tea, and then I have my like little treat kind of protein bar, or my little kind of snacky thing that is a treat for me, because my other meals are super boring, then I'm much more likely to stay consistent. So I bought like over 100 of these aloha bars. It's kind of crazy. And so what I've learned from this experience is no matter where you're at in your weight loss, no matter what your habits are, it's still just calories in, calories out. If you want to lose weight, then you just need to eat less calories. And there's many, many ways to do that. But the easiest one is to just get more consistent, because then you don't have these big calorie spikes. So if you're more consistent day to day, and like your meals are like, even if they're a bit higher in calories, which I would say that my meals kind of typically are for like weight loss zone, even if I'm having like a 600 calorie breakfast and a 600 calorie lunch and like a 600 calorie dinner, because I'm not snacking, because I'm not having big desserts which are like 1200 calories like Ben and Jerry's, or like pizza, or eating like a 300 calorie meal one day and then like having to binge the next, overall your calories go from here to here. Not only that, I have increased my movement, and just by increasing my movement it ups my calories, so my calorie burn is higher than what it normally is, and my calorie consumption is less than what it normally is. So again, like I'm seeing fat really just drop off my body. One of the other things I've learned is how nice it is to just eliminate decision fatigue. I've never been so boring in my meals in my life. I've never eaten just so consistently the same thing every single day. So I was looking at some bread my husband made, and it looked yum. It looked so good. It was fresh bread. It was like in the morning, and I was like, you know what? I could have a toast. Like I can eat toast. And like I think normally I would have, but in the back of my mind I was like, but that's just not what you do. Like if you're going to do that, do it on a Saturday. You can just delay that. And so by being able to just eliminate the decision fatigue, because I know on a weekday I eat oats, like that is me. I didn't have to decide, will I, won't I, should I feel good, should I feel bad, all these things. It's just the focus on habits. The other thing that I learned, which has been very fascinating, is how much I can tweak these like little habits and make it even easier because I'm getting more reps. Whereas normally I would be cooking so many different types of things. I would be like having leftovers for lunch, or I'd be having oatmeal one day and then a smoothie another day. But because I'm having the same lunch, the same breakfast, pretty much the same dinners like every single week, I can make these little tweaks that make it even easier. So for example, what I was doing in the beginning was that I would put all the oats into these portion containers, and then I would add with some protein powder, and then I would add some water on the top, and I would cook that in the microwave the next day. Now, or I would do overnight oats. That was kind of like my system. Now I've realized that it's so easy to just get out a bowl and then literally put my same ingredients with some water, with some protein powder, and I don't even have to measure anything out, and I put it straight in the microwave. It means I don't even have to prep for my breakfast at all. Like it's so easy, and I've eliminated an entire step, and it's easier. And I would have never known this had I not put in the reps for that consistent breakfast, because I'm able to optimize it because I've done it so many times. Same with cooking broccoli. What I was doing was cooking up broccoli and steaming it every single day. And now what I do is I cook a big batch in my Instant Pot, because now that's ready to go every single day, and I don't even have to spend any time getting broccoli ready to go and like having different components that I'm heating up, and I just literally grab and go. The other thing that I keep coming back to, which is super important for anyone watching this, is how satisfying potatoes are. I eat sweet potatoes, and I eat the Japanese sweet potato because they are more satisfying to me than anything else. And this is kind of a fun fact, but the Japanese sweet potato is actually about 40% more calories than other potatoes or other sweet potatoes. And I love that because it keeps me fuller, and I just feel so stuffed when I eat that. So eat more potatoes is my biggest tip always, and more veg. Now that I'm doing this, my life just feels so easy. I don't even know how much brain space it was taking me to think about what I was making every day. It takes so much brain space to think about your diet and your food and what you're eating. Now do not even have to think about that on another level. It's been easy for the past 4 years. It just got so much easier over the past 3 months. It's also just so much easier to get in touch with your natural hunger and fullness cues when you're eating less interesting things and you're not chasing some kind of food high, because there's nothing to overeat. It's not fun enough to overeat on. So being more in tune with my hunger means that I just eat less in general. That is also helpful the closer that you get to a weight loss goal, or the leaner that you get, because you are going to hit a plateau. Everyone hits a plateau. So if you want to keep losing, you have to have less calories from somewhere. This is not something that I would recommend to people in the beginning. I spent years stuffing my face and it works. Be a volume eater, eat a ton of food, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way, or that you're always going to feel like that's even necessary. Like, that's the crazy part. I don't want to eat as much food now, and I never thought I would say that. The final thing that I will say is that the more interesting your life is, the more that you set up hobbies and relationships and other things that you want to do that are not food related, the easier it is going to be to have a life that's not based around food. The more that you have friends and people that you respect, that you look up to, who are also doing what you want to do, the easier it will be. Having like my core group of people inspire me to be better is so underestimatable in terms of how important it is. So if you don't have that, then make it, find it, create it, join a community, because we become not just like the 5 people that we spend the most time with, but by the 5 people that we actually compare ourselves to, which is kind of crazy. I've lost over 9 pounds since April. I have kind of nearly visible abs for the first time. My pull-up game is stronger than it ever has. I'm happier than I have been probably in my entire life. My habits feel easy. This has felt so incredibly good. I don't see myself really ever needing to change ever again. Like, I'll probably modify some stuff, but this just feels so flippin' easy. Let me know in the comments what you kind of take away from this, whether you're going to implement some kind of easy system like this. I hope that this has been helpful in some way. James Clear talks about how environment is the hidden hand that shapes behavior, and your internal environment, what you decide you're going to do, and then what you actually set up and create for yourself is going to influence your behavior, including the people that you spend time with and people and the lifestyle that you have. That's going to influence your behavior much, much more than your willpower or your motivation, which are all fleeting. Eat a ton of potatoes, eat a ton of vegetables, and just like watch your consistency skyrocket. It definitely has for me. So I'm going to leave it there. If you found this helpful, let me know. Let me know what you're going to take away, and I will see you next week for another video. And if you want to know how I prep this really simple system, then I filmed something for you, which is a bit more in depth, which you can go and check out next, which is this exact system, just the prep for it. So go check that out.